Hello everyone and welcome to another Bubble Talk. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. We're almost getting to Friday, so people are pretty happy about that too. What are you drinking? What are you drinking for this Bubble Talk? I am having a milk hojicha latte. What you guys drinking? What you guys drinking? All right, you guys just put it up, post it up in the room. Some of you having water. Some of you might have lemon water, a Sprite, bubble tea, whatever it is. I hope you guys enjoy this. Just shout outs right now to those of you who came up early onto the scene. Ayaka, Changjin, Jenny, Yanlan, thank you so much for coming early and just chatting up a storm in the rooms. Let's take a look at last week's winners of bubble tea. And you're going to see people from the Philippines and also Japan. Who do we have over here? We have Marisol, we have Trina, and we have Natasha over there in Japan. She's Indonesian, but she's in Japan. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed this. Looks like Trina got like more than just a drink. She had like this, she got like a toy and stuff like that from Jollibee's. I've been to the Philippines. Jollibee's is super cheap and really, really good. So I'm sure with, that's probably, you saw it, right? Food, drink, everything else. Awesome. All right. Any of you have any questions? I already see questions in YouTube. Those of you in Facebook, YouTube, if you have any questions, just pop them in right now. We'll put them into the order. While the talk is going on, if you get inspired, ooh, I really want to know about this, just pop the question in, and we'll get people to put those questions in sequence. And then, of course, today, remember everyone, today we are going to be giving away some more free bubble tea. So get yourself ready because today's going to be kind of an Avengers question. Avengers. So you can start looking up Avengers stuff right now. But it's very, very, it should be an Avengers question. It should be pretty easy. You guys should get it. And, the winner, whatever number we choose will be, whoever has that number, correct number, will win that free bubble tea. So, as you guys know, we had that advertisement out of learning to say no, right? How do we say no to people? And that's a very, very interesting topic that a lot of people are asking because it's not an easy thing to do. So everyone, grab your bubble teas, grab your drinks, your coffees, your lattes, espressos, your waters, whatever your drink is, and let's get ready to listen to learning to say no, or why is it so hard to say no? Okay, so that's the question. Why is it so hard to say no? It is, right? And usually people who ask you to do something are people you know. It could be a friend, a family member, colleague, coworker, your boss, and they're asking you, hey, can you do this for me? And I'm sure you've been in this situation. That person comes to you and they're like so sincere. They're like, oh, please help me. And then when you look at them, it's like they really need your help. And they're like, please, please help me. And you look at them like, oh my gosh, I got to help this person. And they ask you for something, and it's like, it's kind of a big thing, or it's something that's out of the way, and you're just like, oh my gosh, and you're kind of dealing with it in your head. And you know that inside because you know this person, and you have a bunch of different feelings that goes through you, right? Which makes it really, really hard to say no. Like the first one is you feel guilty. You just feel guilty. You feel so guilty because you really wanted to help them, but you can't. They look sad. They're your friend or your family. It's like, oh no, this guilt. How do I get rid of this guilt? I think I have to say yes. Other people are worried about hurting them. You might hurt them when you say no, letting people down. And even in other situations, someone could ask you for something, but to say no, you get something, everyone knows what it is, FOMO, right? The feeling of missing out. Like you totally feel like, oh my gosh, am I missing out on this opportunity? Am I going to meet a better person? Oh, should I have said yes, right? And there's a bunch of different reasons why we're going to sit there and say, oh man, it's so hard to say no. Now, I'm going to take a look at the first verse today. It's Matthew 5:42. And as people of faith, this verse is very contradictory because it makes us think that we have to say yes all the time, right? Give to the one who asks. Do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. And when you read this, it's kind of like, gosh, it sounds like I have to say yes to every single thing, right? And it's kind of like it's a problem in our hearts. So what happens? What do we do then? So instead, because we have all these feelings, or even God is telling us, or whatever it is, we just say yes to everything. Right? It's like a total mind blow because we say yes to everything. Yes, 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 yes. Right? And here's the thing. Right? I'll give you another Bible verse in Matthew 25, verse 40. it says, this is what Jesus says, is, he's like going, whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me. He's like, oh, so whatever I did for them, I've done for you, Jesus. And you're like, oh, I gotta say yes to this, right? And then all of a sudden we start saying yes to everything. Then you have too much on your plate. Then it leads to burnout. Then even though you've said yes to all these things and you're doing them all, you don't have enough time to prepare really well for them, so you don't do well at all, which also again leads to letting people down because you didn't do your best. You lose an opportunity because you didn't show the best side of you. You're hurting others. You feel guilty because you didn't do it the way that you were supposed to do it, because you said yes to too many things. And this is why today I really want to talk about how can we learning how to say no. And this is something that's very, very important in our lives. And of course, you're going to go on the internet. You're going to find all these people say, you know what? This is how you say no. And they're like, no, 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 no. And they're like teaching you how to say no. No, I'm not going to teach you how to do these types of things. The thing that you need to understand is we need to understand the word no. Okay? And you have to understand this. Everything starts with your perception. The perception is the most important part, especially when it comes to the word no. So, first question I give to you is this. Is the word no, hearing the word no or saying the word no, is it a positive or a negative thing, usually when we feel it in our hearts? And the answer is we usually think no is a very negative thing. Now, why? Why is it we don't like to hear the word no? Why is it like we don't like to say the thing no? Is because the reason why we frame the word no in a very negative light, because ever since we were young, it's one of those words we never wanted to hear, right? Ever since you were young. It's one of those things you hated because it's like, Mom, can I play outside? No. Mom, can I go to the movies? No. Can I have some candy? No. Can I go out naked? No. Like, I doubt that, right? But, like, there's all these questions, and there's like, no, 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 no. And you're like, oh, come on, Mom, come on. And then it's kind of like that word that limits your freedom. That I'm sure every one of you here, everyone out there, that one time when you were like a teenager, like you were thinking of packing your bags and just leaving the house because you didn't want to be under the oppression of your parents' rule because they keep saying no, 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 like whatever it is, right? Yeah, when we go through life, we hear that one word we never want to, we hate that word because it limits us from doing the things we really want to do. Right? We dislike our parents because they say no. We think they're unfair, or they, how teenagers are like, my parents don't understand me. They don't understand me, so they keep saying no. I wanted to eat 3 kilograms of chocolate, but they said no. And it's kind of like, no, no, no. So, no all of a sudden has this really, really bad reputation in our hearts and our minds. And it remains inside of us as such a negative thing. We don't like hearing it, and we don't like saying it, okay? So here's a question that this is something that's really important for us to start thinking and just kind of bring it out into our minds is, what does yes and no mean, right? Because they're a pair, yes and no, they're opposites, right? What does it mean? Like this no, what does it mean? So if I look at Matthew chapter 5, verse 37, there's a very interesting verse that, people will misunderstand a lot too. It's like, hey, all you need to do is simply say yes and no, and anything beyond this comes from the devil, right? And you're like, what? So I can't explain more? Now here's the thing. Why did I bring this up? I'm not talking to you about explaining too much. What I'm talking to you right now is, before you understand what this means, you really need to understand what the heck does yes and no actually mean. So let me ask you a question. Because we think that yes is a good thing. Hey, can I go eat candy? Yes, you can. Can I eat candy again? Yes, you can. Yes, yes, yes. It's very positive in our minds, right? So let me ask you this question. Is every yes good? Hey, you want to do some drugs? Yes. Do you want to steal? Yes. Do you want to beat someone up? Yes. Like, it's like, do you want to beat up your boss? Yeah. Like, those aren't good things. Do you want to skip school? Do you want to not do your homework? Like, is every yes good? And no. And then you're sometimes going to have some regrets of saying yes to certain things. Which brings me to the flip side of today's topic of no. So my question to you is every no bad? Is every no bad? Are there no takebacks? Are there no things that you regret? Like, oh, why did I say no? I should have done it. I should have done, or sometimes you say like, wow, I'm so glad my parents said no, that I didn't go through that. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't do that. Wow, I'm so happy. It's like those times, you know, when you're making a very, very big purchase. Like just recently, I bought myself a new laptop computer, and it was on sale, and it was it's a weird number. It was like, it was 12% off. Don't ask. It was 12% off, okay? It's 12% off, and I didn't buy it, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I should buy it. And I went back on to buy it, and then it was 9% off. And I'm like, what? Now it's 9%. Oh, man, I should buy it. So what happens was, I'm about to press buy, but I'm like, oh, no, can I, should I? Oh, and I didn't buy it. A week went by, and then my friend says, are you sure you don't want to buy it? It's like, you know what, I might as well buy it. It's only 2%. And when we logged on a week later, it was back to 12% off, right? So for me, I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't press the buy button. Thank God, right? And it's something that we always check all the time, right? Haven't you ever bought something and then even though you bought it, you still check prices here and there just to see if you got the best deal or not, right? It's kind of thing you're kind of trying to figure out if it was the right decision or not. Not every no is bad, and not every yes is good. So that's why we need to learn in life the difference between yes and no, and what does it really mean to us in our life? What does it really mean, yes and no, okay? So the thing I want to tell you right now is, no is not a negative thing, right? We need to kind of fix this in our minds first, right? And the example I'm going to give to you in the Bible is from a very famous verse about the armor of God. It's from Ephesians chapter 6, verse 16. It talks about this one thing about the shield of faith, right? All this stuff is about a sword and like attacking. And then all of a sudden here in verse 16 is like, take up the shield of faith with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows. So one thing about a shield is also defense, right? Like fighting is not all about offense, but fighting is also about defense too, right? And the thing you have to understand is yes and no. No and yes are actually a complementary couple. They work together, okay? So yes and no are working together. Yes is an attack, but sometimes you need to do what? You need to say no. No is like defense for yourself, right? And you have to think about it in this way. Don't think about this no as like, oh, it's so negative. No, no's allow, like, well, let me give you an example. If you have something that's very important for you and you really have to do this well, but you keep saying yes to all these other people asking you to do more and more stuff, you get so you're so bogged down with so many different things that you can't do that thing you're supposed to do properly. What the no does is the flaming arrows of, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you just like pop, 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 pop? It's like, no, 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 no. What's it doing? You're actually, it's a good thing for you because you shouldn't take everything. No is, you have to think about no like this. No opens up room for you to say yes, right? Yes to what you really want, or yes to what you should really do, right? Because if you keep saying yes, then you get overcrowded with so many things, and then when the opportunity for the thing you really want to do comes, you can't take it because you have too many things. But the no gives you space for you to say yes to the things that you really, really want to do, or the things you really should do, okay? And this is what has to change in our hearts and our minds, is our perception of what this no really is. Because when you go and you see motivational speakers on TV, aren't they all about yes, man? Yes, 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 yes. Yes to this, yes to that, say yes and yes, yes. I know there's a movie with Jim Carrey called Yes Man, right? Yeah, it's crazy if you say yes to all these things, but you shouldn't say yes to everything, like let's rob a bank. Yes, right? You shouldn't be a yes man to everything. Have you ever heard about a motivational speaker saying, no, you got to be a no man? No, you never hear it. And that's why it's kind of like, it's a very it has got a negative connotation behind it, and this is what causes us to have these really ill feelings and bad feelings towards saying no to someone. Right? What we really need to do, and the most important thing I want to talk about today before anything else, this is the main point of today, is you have to understand no. You have to understand what it is. It is a complement to yes, and they're working together. It's not a negative thing. It's not a bad thing. Yes, we associate it with rejection. Yes, we associate it with denial, but it's not, right? It is something where all of us have a yes and a no, and they work together so that we can go on the path that we're really supposed to be on. This is why that's the first thing I really want everyone to understand is, what does yes and no really mean in my life, right? And I really want you guys to change this perception of no from a negative to something that is actually positive for your life, okay? So once you get this perception down straight of what no really is, then you can actually have a better time understanding why I need to say no, or why no is a very important thing, right? A lot of times you might just hear people say, you know, you're so hard to say no, but you just got to say yes, right? And then when you have to say no, just say no, right? But we have to understand first is what is a yes and a no? What does it really mean in our life? And they are two things that are very, very important, and they're working together. So now that we have the foundation of understanding between yes and no, it moves us into how can we practice to say no, or how do we clearly say no to people, right? And of course, communication is the key. We have to clearly communicate to people when we're saying no. And communication is one of the hardest parts in life, because with communication, sometimes we're having good days and bad days, emotional, non-emotional. There's just so many other different things that are happening, right? So what we have to understand is there are three parts that we really have to understand when it comes to us saying no to people, those who are asking us to do certain things that we really can't do or we don't want to do, right? So the first thing that's the most important one is, number one is you need to have a clear message, right? Clear means there's no maybe, right? Yet your yes be yes and your no be no. Don't be like, not really, but maybe later. Like, don't even go into that, right? Because what happens there is it brings us, it brings a mixed message. It's like, so the person's asking like, oh, what? And the hardest part about this, you know what it is? The hardest part about this is that person doesn't know whether to ask someone else or not, or should they fully rely on you to wait for your answer before they ask someone else. And the thing is, you need to be clear. Yes or no. Sorry, I am unable to do this. So that message has to be absolutely clear. Like, they need to know from your answer whether it's a firm yes or a firm no. And this is why, there's another verse in the Bible that I don't have this up, but it's basically what God says is, you know, you're either hot or cold. If you're lukewarm, I spit you out, right? Lukewarm is like, yeah, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll try, nah, right? That's like, it's so like, yeah. People who can't make up their mind, you're like, oh gosh, let me just ask someone else, right? No, you want to be very, very clear with your answer so the person knows exactly what you're saying is yes or no, right? I'm sorry, I cannot do this for you, okay? Now, the second thing I want to bring up to you is don't over-explain. It doesn't mean don't explain, because we don't want to be rude to people. Like, someone says, can you do this for me? No. Then people are going to be like, okay, okay, thank you. You don't want to be rude, right? And that's why you want to, don't over-explain, but say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do this. I have other commitments. I have another appointment. You don't have to say what it is, right? Don't get into the, oh, well, you know what happened? It's like my dog died last night, and then it's like I couldn't sleep at all. And then after I couldn't sleep, I was like, oh my gosh, like what should I do next? And then I tried to stay up, and then I couldn't. And then I'm so tired right now, so I don't know if I could really do this. Like, it's like, you're kind of like, oh, like, can you? And people at that point, they're like, can you just tell me yes or no? So it's a no, right? It's a no, right? No, don't over-explain. You just got to be very clear. I'm sorry. Be clear. I'm sorry. I cannot do this. I have other commitments. I have another appointment. I'm sorry. I can't do it. Very simple and very easy, right? And of course, the last one is be firm. Be firm, meaning if that's your answer, that's your answer. Don't give in to them like, but I really need your help, and I really need this, and it's like, there are times where you could help someone, you might have extra time, but you should be very firm or keep your integrity. It's like, yeah, no, I'm sorry, I just can't do it. Yeah, I don't have enough time. And when people see that you're firm about it, then what happens is then they'll go ask someone else and then do the crying stuff to the next person, right? So you want to be firm about it. Don't just be wishy-washy. Like, haven't you felt so bad that you're like, no, and they're like, oh, please, and you'd be like, well, and then at that moment, the person's like, gotcha. It's like, I got him, right? Because now they're thinking about it. No, you just got to be firm with it, right? Don't get into the, well, I guess, yeah, you know what, I really want to help. No, don't even get into that kind of stuff. Just be, I'm sorry, I can't. I have another appointment. I won't be able to do it. I'm sorry, right? Just be very, very clear about it, right? And after you're clear, don't over-explain and be firm and say, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, right? And let them move to someone else. And this last thing I really want to tell you guys, to help you guys remember this a little bit better, is you also have to understand, you know what we talked about before when you say yes to everything? The hard part about saying yes to everything is you actually overwork yourself and you can't even do your best for all these people that have asked you for it, right? And if that happens, then you can't even give them your best. You can't even prepare properly for them, and then you just feel bad every single time you're doing these things for them. You saying no, being firm about it, is actually helping them to go find someone who can put more effort and better effort into it, right? And that's something that we have to recognize for ourselves is, hey, if I do this, there's no way I can do a good job on this. I don't have enough time. But it's in your head. Don't say that to them. Don't over-explain. But you'll realize, yeah, if I got already 3 things going on, if I do this 4th thing, oh man, it's over for me, right? So you just got to be transparent. Say, hey, sorry about it. I already have other commitments. I have other things that I'm still doing right now, so I can't take that. I can't take this on right now. Sorry about this. Oh, you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Right? Don't hesitate. Are you sure? Yeah, I guess. No. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. I'm sorry. Oh, okay, no problem. And then they'll move on. Right? And that's something that we have to be very clear about when we talk to people. So they'll understand that they're not going to come, for that thing, they won't be coming to you for that type of thing, okay? So I really hope that you guys really enjoyed today's Bubble Talk. We talked about learning how to say no, but of course the most important thing is changing your perception of what no really means, okay? So everyone, I'm hoping you guys are popping in your questions left and right that will really be able to answer a lot more of your questions right now. So remember, also we're going to be giving some bubble tea out. And we're going to ask the bubble tea question in the middle of our question and answer. So take a sip and we'll begin in about 5 seconds. That's some good hoji cha. All right. Let's. So for those of you over there in Facebook land, if you're here for the first time, and you want to listen to the other Bubble Talks that we have, this is actually like the 27th one. Like we got like almost 30 Bubble Talks. You can go over to our YouTube page, and in our YouTube page, we have Espresso with Sky YouTube channel, and we have all of our talks on there. If you guys want to see other talks like our Taco Tuesdays, you can go check those out on the Espresso with Sky YouTube channel. Also, make sure you click subscribe and click the notification bell, which will tell you every time we go live or every time a new video is uploaded. Secondly, those of you who like to support this ministry on Patreon, go ahead and click that link, and you guys can support us there. And this Saturday, in 2 days, we have group Bible lessons at 1 p.m. every week. It's a little bit more intimate. It's on Zoom. We can see each other's faces. You get to meet people from everywhere. Right now, we have people from Hong Kong, Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, from Jollibee country, right? From all these different places. We have people from, other people are like wanting to join. Mongolia, we've had Sri Lanka, we have too, right? So if you like, go ahead and sign up, fill up your name, and we'll definitely send you all of our email notifications of when we start and have those Bible lessons every Saturday at 1 p.m. All right, so let's get into question and answer time. First question comes from who? First question comes from Jenny in PJ, as in Malaysia. I know it's not good to over-explain, but is it necessary sometimes? And the answer is, yes, it is, of course. Whenever you see these rules are never set in stone. They're never set in stone. Like, for instance, there are times when you do want to explain because you want to show someone that you really, really care about a situation. For instance, let's say that you haven't seen your sister in a long time, and she lives like 3 hours away, and you're ready to go and visit her, and then what happens is the car breaks down or something else happens, right? Like, you're not going to say to your sister, oh, I haven't seen you in so many years, and sorry, I can't see you. I have other appointments. I have other commitments, right? Like, you can't say that. It's your sister, right? And you really want to show her that, hey, I really, really wanted to go Just want to let you know, look, my car broke down. I'm trying to get it fixed. I'm not sure when I'm going to get this on time, so I probably can't meet you. So I don't want to hold you up, so you can probably go do something else, right? And your sister or your brother, whatever it is, probably going to say, oh, it's okay, I understand, because your car broke down, right? Oh, I had a really long night. My kids were up, this, and this. I don't have a car, but I have to take a bus. And the bus takes 3 hours, but the kids are cranky. I don't know if I can handle it. You know, and then when you explain a little bit more, it's okay in certain situations, right? But you know, definitely you want to pick your battles, right? Not everyone needs all that explanation, right? And especially when it comes to work and other things, it's better to be say less. Okay, let's go to the next question. All the way over there in Singapore, we have Matt. Matt in Singapore asks, "What if you have a very pushy boss that doesn't take no for an answer? How do we deal with this situation?" All right. So, like I said, you have to pick your battles. Like for instance, if someone doesn't say no for an answer, like it's your boss, and then you know it's going to affect your job, or you know that you might get fired, or you'll know the situation a lot better than I do. You want to pick your battles in that case, right? Say, hey, I can't, right? But if it's going to affect your work relationship or your life at work in a very negative way that outweighs, right, you not doing this, you need to really discern really well and which situation you should and shouldn't say, because eventually, if it comes down to saying yes to your boss or losing your job, you know, then you have to really assess and say, well, is it important enough for me to say no and stand up for what I believe in, or in my job, right? And that's something that you'd have to assess yourself, okay? So that's something that you'd have to discern on your own. Thank you, Matt in Singapore. Let's go to the next question. All the way over there in Korea, it's Ichigo. Ichigo says, what should I do when everyone around me says no to me? No, right? So here's the thing. This is a little bit different situation, because it means that you are the one asking people now, right? You're the one asking other people, which means that we need to be okay with people saying no, because we can't really say to them, you're not busy. Oh, are you real? Who are you meeting? Where are you going? Like, we can't really say that either. We really don't know what other people are going through, or do sometimes people just need to take a break, right? So sometimes it could be that people are really busy, or sometimes it could be that we're not as confident and assertive when we ask people. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, when it's kind of like, hey, I'm not sure if you can, but can you help me? And then people like that, it's very easy to say no, because they're in a much stronger position, right? It's like, hey, I'm going to do this, and this. I was wondering if you can help me out here, da-da-da-da-da. And people who are much more assertive, people are more likely to say yes to them also. So it's either one of the other sides. It could be that they're really busy, and we shouldn't expect them to say yes, right? Should we expect them? Should they say yes? And the answer is no. Everyone has choice. Even if I have nothing to do in my life, nothing, and I just want to lie on the floor and spin around in circles or roll around on the floor, I still have a right to say no to anyone, and I would rather roll on the floor by myself. It's true, right? People have a choice, so what we do have to recognize that there is a choice that people have, and we have to respect that choice. They don't have to do anything for us, right? So when they say no, it's a no. Second thing, like I said, is just check yourself too, is how confident or how assertive are you when you ask, or are you letting people just kind of, you know, you put yourself in a very weak position also. So that's another thing you have to look at too, Ichigo. Right, great question. Let's go to the next question. All the way over there in Japan, we have Ayaka. Ayaka in Japan is asking, when there's many tasks, I can't set the priority. Saying no is a big commitment for me. How can I say no so I can prioritize a task and use my time valuably? Okay, so saying no is a big commitment for me. Okay, so this is where we're going, right? So if just the saying no is a big commitment, that means you prioritize other people and what they think more than yourself. So your priority is everyone else is above you and you're below here, and you prioritize yourself over here because it's such a big commitment to say no. Why? Because these people are much more important to you. And of course, I'm going to tell you guys, in Asian countries, it's a little bit easier to think this way because it's a group think. right? The group matters more than the individual. If you guys go to America, you know what they say a lot? No. Why? Because the individual matters a little bit more. You'll hear it, I'm not saying that they all can say no, but you could hear it more often. No, sorry, can't do it. Sorry, can't help you. I'd rather twiddle my thumbs all day, right? What you have to understand is you have to reset your priority first about yourself. It has to come, you should be putting yourself above everyone else. You should, right? Understanding yourself is, can I do this? Can I not do this? Right? Your priority has to switch. It shouldn't be a big commitment to say no. It shouldn't, right? And you should be able to tell people, I'm sorry, I have other commitments. I can't do this, right? And I'm going to tell you this right now. If you are assertive and confident in your answers, people will just go to someone else and ask, hey, can you do this for me? Oh, I'm so sorry. I have other appointments. I have other things that I had to do first, so I can't do this for you. I'm sorry. You'll be surprised how many people are like, okay, and they move on. Or people usually will ask one more time, are you sure? And you'll be like, yeah, I'm sorry. What do you say in Japan? Sumimasen. Iie, sumimasen. Right? You're like, no, I can't, right? And they'll be like, oh, and smile like, oh, I can't do it. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they'll go and ask someone else. You gotta understand, people are saying no for it to get to you. And you could be the first person and you just say no. They're gonna go to someone else, right? So prioritizing is not so much what you're trying to prioritize, but in this situation, Ayaka, the no is a big commitment, which when it shouldn't be. I know it's a little bit scary, but I do suggest you practice in the mirror. I'm dead serious too. Practice. Because sometimes we're not used to saying no to someone and we feel like it's like awkward. It's like, hey, can you do this? Nah. And it gets really awkward, right? It's always going to be like that. But just be confident and say, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I have other things. And they'll be like, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Oh, okay. And then they move on, right? So you need to practice saying no too, because if you're not used to saying no, when it comes out, it's going to sound really weird. Excuse me? Okay, you got to practice it, okay? All right, Ayaka, thank you so much for asking that. We will go on to Hannah in Japan. Hannah Yusan, which is Filipino in Japan. Hannah asks, there are times when I say yes and commit to doing something until the end, but then is it bad to say no, especially when I realize that in the long run, I actually cannot? Yes, like that's a perfect way to look at it. Perfect way. If someone asks you to do something once, it's a little bit different than, can you do this for me from now on? Much, much different, right? So if there is something you can commit to in the short run, you should say it and say, hey, I can help you out for 3 weeks. And be very clear about it. Oh, yeah, you know what? I just want to let you know that I have another thing that's starting up in 3 weeks, so I can help you until this time. So, in this case, if you want to help, but you can't do it until the very, very end, one of the things you could do is set a deadline and say, hey, I'm sorry, you know what, I can do it for the next 3 weeks, but after that, I can't do it. I'm going to be busy after that time. So I can help you if that's okay, right? And you can set that time too. So sometimes, in some cases, if you do have time and you can do it in the beginning, it's okay to set a time. I can help you first 2 weeks. Yeah, and I can't do anything after that, right? And you set that time and you allow them to understand your full situation. Oh, I can help you. But starting in September, I actually can't do it anymore because I'll be starting a job or I'll be doing something. I have another commitment, right? You don't want to get too deep into it, right? And you can do it in that way too. Or if you just don't feel, just say no. Because like, yeah, you can't do it. Right? You don't have to explain so much. Just, I got other things right now on my plate, so I can't really, I won't be able to do this thing here, right? Pick and choose your battles and understand, look at the things that you're, whatever you say yes to is denying a yes later in the future that you might be looking for a little bit later, right? That's why they say no opens up space for you to say yes to something you really want. Okay, let's go over to Axel in the Philippines. Hello, Axel. He says, I have a hard time saving money because I just can't say no to myself in buying stuff like food. What should I do? Oh my goodness, I think a lot of people are struggling with that. You know what? For me too, today, I was having lunch at a Japanese place, and after I was like, oh, I should get a drink. And I just started walking around and I found this bubble tea place, and in my head, I'm like, man, I'm going to have bubble tea tonight. And actually, I did have another bubble tea before that too, right? Either way, I was like, I'm gonna have bubble tea tonight. And I stood in line, and I'm getting ready to order, and I'm just like, what am I doing? And I actually, right before it was my turn to go up, I left. I left like, I don't need this, and I left. But I was tempted, like, come on, just get it, right? One thing when it comes, we should actually do one on saving money and budgeting. But either way, when it comes to saving your money, because that's, when it comes to saving your money, you need to have a reason why you're saving. Because if your reason for saving is not good enough or big enough, actually, it just saving money is not going to be inspiring for you. It just won't be. Yeah, you need to have some reason to save money other than I should save money for a rainy day. No, you should have a reason, like I'm gonna buy a car. I'm going to save up for a ring for my fiance. I need this money to help my mom. I want to give my mom a gift, right? There has to be something that's really compelling for you so that you have a real reason to save, right? And that's something that you have to understand in your own heart and your own mind, and that's going to help you out a lot better too. All right, Axel, thank you so much, which means we're going to go into today's bubble tea quiz, okay? Today's bubble tea quiz for a delicious, juicy, scrumptious, refreshing, I don't know about scrumptious, right? Refreshing bubble tea for you guys, wherever you are. The question is from the Avengers, and the question is, who is the actor that plays Spider-Man? Go ahead and write that, and when I'll show you the number of which person we're going to choose, who is the actor that plays Spider-Man right now? Played it in the current Avengers, in the last Spider-Man movie was Mysterio. His first name could rhyme with palm, and his last name is another word for the Netherlands. Either way, write them down, and then we're going to go into the last question of the day. Last question of the day is from Amor Solis. Amor Solis is asking, from the Philippines, how to get rid of feeling guilty or regret after saying no. So here's the thing. One of the reasons why there's a lot of guilt, right? And there's a lot of like, oh no, I don't feel, and I regret after saying no. Like for instance, regretting after you say no, why would you regret, right? Like the only ones you regret is the ones you really, really should have done. Like, oh, I really should have done that, right? And on the flip side, you feel guilty because you didn't do it, right? But you're like, oh, I really feel for these people. One thing you really have to understand yourself really well in this case, right? That's why that first part was very important, is starting to understand what yes and no really means, right? Getting rid of the negative connotations behind a no, right? No is not a bad thing, remember. No is not a negative thing. We have to realize that knowing yourself, knowing what you really want, if I have my focus here, but then I keep adding all these things around and I can't even get this thing done, what does that mean? It means that even the very thing, like say it's my work, my life, my passion, like let's say something important, like even taking care of your kids. You probably don't have kids, right? But imagine it's taking care of your kids, but you say yes to all these things, you neglect your children, right? What you should be feeling worse about is not about the stuff you said no to or the stuff you regret, right? No, you should feel more guilty about the things that are really important, like taking care of your kids and neglecting them instead, right? And that's why we have to, one of the big things we have to have in our minds is understanding, right, the importance of self, right? Importance of who I am, what I really need. If you're a mother, your number one priority, I'm sorry, is your family, by far. If you're a student, your number one thing should be what? Should be family. It shouldn't change, right? You're like going, oh, shouldn't it be school? No, because if your mom's dying in the hospital, it's not like I have a test, I can't go to the hospital. It should always be, it's just, for those of you who are spiritual, who have faith, God is always number one, right? But when it comes to the first, it's about God, then we put ourselves, and then we have our family, and then all these other you have friends and other different people we put into our priorities. But you should set your priorities. And you shouldn't feel bad, right, that why would your friends all of a sudden be, like, say, above God? Right? Let's say, if you have faith, for me, having someone above God, that would be crazy. I don't even put myself above God. right? So when you understand your priorities, you understand who you are, what you really want at that time. When I say at that time means sometimes the things we want change, right? You have to understand yourself, understand your priorities, and always be checking according to priorities. Yes, sometimes the top 5 shuffle every now and then, right? Like for instance, your mom says, hey, you're gonna eat dinner today? Of course family's important, but of course if you have a big test, but it's a dinner, same dinner you've always had every single day. They're like, oh mom, I'm sorry, I got a big test, is it okay? Yeah, it's fine. So you have to understand is you have the top 5. And the top 5, it's very, very strong. And every once in a while, things shift here and there, right? Like even going to church on Sunday, like if you have your mom's funeral, your dad's funeral, or just something that's really, like one of those things, is not like you're gonna like, oh, I can't because I can't skip church. Like we have to be very reasonable about these things too, right? So you want to set your priorities, understand yourself really well, and be very reasonable with yourself. And this is when it's very, very easy to not feel guilty because you understand what is most important. Yeah. Like if we took things that are very, very, very clear to us, like let's just say I'm a person of faith, and one of the things I don't want to do is lie. Right? I don't want to lie. But your boss says to you, oh, I have a meeting, but these people think this, but can you lie for me? And then I'll give you more money. Would I exchange my standard of my morals of God, like what God wants from me more than my boss wants from me, for a little bit more money? And the answer is no, right? I'm not going to sit there like, oh no, I got to do this for my boss. No, I'm not going to do it, right? And there's things that I see and I'm not going to feel bad about it. I'm not going to feel bad about not lying for someone who asked me to lie for them so that they can do better in work. Like, I'm not going to feel bad about that, right? Because I understand my priorities, right? So Amor, Salis, yeah, it's good to have an exercise where you can set down your priorities too. For me, it's like God, myself, my family, friends, and all these other different things like this too, right? So I hope that you guys too will be able to set those things in order, and hope that everyone can have a wonderful and amazing weekend. And that brings us to who are the winners of today's Bubble Talk Bubble Teas. What number do we choose today? The number we chose today is number 9. And who are the winners today? The winners today is, wow, how do I pronounce that? Ning Lei Hong. All right. Oh, Lei Hong. That's easy. Lei Hong on Facebook. And Axel. Axel, congratulations, buddy. Axel from the Philippines and Lei Hong from Malaysia. Whoa, Malaysia finally won. Okay. We have Malaysia and we have Lei Hong and we have Axel in the Philippines. Congratulations. Make sure you email espressowithsky@gmail.com and just say that you guys won, and we're going to send you your free bubble teas. Everyone, have a wonderful and amazing weekend. And like I said before, those of you who haven't subscribed, go subscribe on Espresso with Sky on the YouTube channel. Press subscribe and click the notification bell. Those of you who want to support us on Patreon can click there. And also, the most important one is 1 p.m. Saturday, we have Bible stories and lessons, and we're going to have a great time meeting people from all over the world. Going to make some cool friends too. Oh, and there's a name to it. There is a name. Yeah, the name is See You Saturday. See You. C is S-E-A, right? S-E-A, like Southeast Asia, but it means... What does it mean? I kept thinking Southeast Asia, but it's not. It's not Southeast Asia. It's S-E-A. It means to, one second, they're going to get it for me. See You Saturdays. What is it? Share, engage, and act. Wow, I feel terrible at this. Let's just call it C. See You Saturdays. Share, engage, act, Saturday, or you, right? You, this is for you, right? See You Saturdays, all right, everyone. See you on Saturday at the See You Saturday, 1 p.m. Go ahead and sign up, and we'll see you guys again. Everyone have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you guys again in next week's Bubble Talk. Bye-bye.